Welcome back to the Just Fantasy Baseball podcast. My name is Rami Lavi. Across from me, that's Vince D'Amato, and today we're going to talk about some fun things in baseball. First, Vince, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Rami. I've been watching a lot of baseball. Well, actually, no, the Cubs got killed yesterday. I don't know if you saw that game. That was ugly. That one really hurt my baseball spirit. But they've been hot. I think they won four in a row before that. They swept the Astros. So I've been okay. I got to see a Texas Rangers game earlier this week in Texas, so that was fun. Overall, I'm doing great. Just loving where the season's at so far.
Never been to a Texas Rangers game in Texas. What's that ballpark like?
It is. So Adolis Garcia hit a 2-run home run and the place went nuts. I wasn't expecting they do fireworks after the home run, and it was
awesome.
indoors. It was awesome. It was really cool. So I wish they had the stadium open, but no, it was a fun environment. Place they love their Texas Rangers, obviously. So yeah, it was a good time.
So I'm currently in not freezing, but very rainy Detroit, Michigan. The NFL draft was this weekend here. And then also I was going to go to the Tiger game today, but then the Knicks are playing a playoff game today. So I'm going to stay home and watch the playoff game. So that's that. Speaking of, so you mentioned two teams there. I could take this in either direction. We could talk about the Astros for a second. How much do they suck? Like, is something wrong with the Astros? Are the Astros broken? Are they just bad? Like, is this the end of the? Because I don't want the Astros dynasty to end this way. I need the Yankees to beat them in the playoffs for me to get over all my like angst of 2015, 2017, 2019, 2022. Like, I need the Yankees to beat a dominant Astros team. I can't just have them beat the limping Astros team at the end of their dynasty in the playoffs. I need the Yankees to like get that monkey off their back. Are we never going to have that? Is this Astros team just cooked?
I don't know if they're cooked, but they're certainly not giving any hint that they're even kind of coming back. I mean, it's just been underperformance kind of across the board. They've had a couple injuries, like Christian Javier's out, and Bregman has not been anything that we've expected from him. So I don't know. I'm in the camp of it's a long season and it just takes 2 weeks for them to get hot. And once they're hot, they're going to start rolling. So I'm not counting them out. I think they're, the best of the worst teams right now. But it certainly doesn't look good. And they're, other teams have struggled, but their division's still no cakewalk with Texas and Houston in there, or Seattle in there as well, who have both been struggling too. So it's kind of a weird year for that division. So that being said, I think the fact that they don't have anyone running away with it, right? If they had the Braves who were, dominating, or the Dodgers, like some of these teams who are kind of well ahead in their division, still single digit loss column, like that's when it'd be like, okay, but all three of those powerhouse teams in the division are struggling. So I think there's still a pretty clear path for them to make some run.
You mentioned the Cubs. Your boy Albert Alzolay officially no longer the closer.
Yeah.
So we talked about this. We speculated about this for a couple of weeks. And this is a big fantasy headline. I don't know how big of a headline it is in Chicago for the Cubs, but I mean, as far as fantasy baseball goes, this is a guy who is projected to be one of the top closers. And if you're in a closer league, you have to pick him up. Now I don't even know who you pick up in Chicago because it's kind of going to be closer by committee. We kind of saw this coming. It happened, right?
Yeah. If you're in a deeper league, you need a guy. Yency Almonte is one. Mark Leiter Jr., I mean, he's kind of been around and he's been solid for a long time. So I think, they've both seen opportunities and they're holding down that back end. I imagine Alzolay will get a chance at some point later in the year, but yeah, he hasn't shown anything. And he was a huge name in Chicago, right? Like last year when he took over the role, he was dominant. He like led the major leagues in saves for a good portion of that year last year. So I think Cubs fans kind of saw a little bit of this coming, but I don't think we saw it to this extent. So it's been kind of tough because he's such a fun guy to watch when he's on and he's hyped. Like we love watching it. And it's been a little tough. It's been tough for Cubs fans.
And tough for fantasy owners who had him. And, saves are hard to come by. And now you just lost another one that was kind of supposed to be a quote unquote sure thing, whatever that means. Another guy who's never a sure thing, and I actually wrote this headline for last week, but we never got to it. What he was playing so well after all the heat he took early in the year was Anthony Rendon. And then he pulls his hammy and he says, quote, "It's concerning." So it doesn't sound like he's rushing back from that anytime soon. How typical is that? Finally, he gets going for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, has a hot stretch, and then all of a sudden, hammy, boom, see ya.
Yeah, I don't know. That again just continues. You get a little bit of a glimpse of what it's like, and then it's gone.
What he
Like,
can be as Anthony Rendon.
yeah, and that's why people forget, like, they paid him a lot of money for a reason. Like, there's a good
This dude
ball
was an
player
MVP.
somewhere in there, yes. And it feels like it's 25 years ago that was the case.
I actually have a great picture of it was 2019. It was during the NLDS. I was sitting right on top of the Dodgers dugout, and I took a great picture of Anthony Rendon standing next to Cody Bellinger. And if you remember, those were two finalists for the MVP that year in 2019. They're standing next to each other on top of like at third base, right? On the third base side in Dodgers Park during the NLDS, just talking to each other. It was a really cool picture.
Yeah.
And to think about those two guys, I mean, now, right? Because Bellinger's hurt too now, right?
Yeah, Bellinger's hurt. The whole Cubs, just Bellinger, Suzuki, Happ had a few days. Steele, yeah, they've been kind of banged up. And actually, I do want to bring up one other thing too, because it's something we won't touch on, but is also important for fantasy owners. What do you do with Corbin Carroll, right? Like, talk about a guy who's struggling, who people were expecting him to be an anchor, and I've seen a lot of concern about the shoulder. I don't know if you've seen some of his numbers since his shoulder injury last year, but
Yep.
a good comparison, and I think this rings true because shoulders can be kind of funky, is Cody Bellinger. Like, it's taken him years to kind of get over that shoulder injury, and I'm not saying that that's going to be the case with Corbin Carroll, but it certainly could be lingering, because I mean he's finally dropped down in the batting order, which is that's extremely concerning. So it shows that the Diamondbacks are seeing it as well. I don't really know what you do with him. If you drafted him as a top guy, it's almost like one of those, you kind of just have to go down with the ship. And I hate saying that, but it's like, no matter what you trade, trying to trade someone like him away, you're not going to get the value that he's probably worth. And you almost just have to try to ride it out. And if you lose the season because Corbin Carroll, your number 5 or whatever overall pick, top 5 overall pick, isn't even a top 200 player, that just happens. So that's been kind of tough for me.
That's the thing. Like, I remember last year, and I've brought this up before on the show, but what was I supposed to do about Sandy Alcantara, right? It was like he's supposed to be one of my best pitcher, and he's just not, and there's really nothing I can do about it, because you just have to hope he gets hot. And with Corbin Carroll, you could say maybe it's a little bit of a sophomore slump, people getting used to him, things like that. So hopefully he breaks out of it. With a position player, it's much easier to bet on, hey, he'll just turn it around. Like, I mean, think about Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is probably supposed to be an anchor of your team. And it's not like he's hurt. We're used to, if Aaron Judge is disappointing, it's because he's hurt.
Yeah.
No, he's batting 180. You know what I mean? That's frustrating. And by the way, that hat is so dope. You bought that at the stadium just now?
No, I bought it at have you heard of a place called Shields?
No,
I had never heard. It's like a Dick's Sporting Goods, but it's like on steroid. Like, it's huge, and there's so much.
Is it a Texas thing? Is it a West Coast thing?
I think it's a West Coast Texas thing. I again was just visiting, or I was out there for work. So, but yeah, they had like almost every alternative or City Connect jerseys and hats.
Oh, that's cool.
From every team. It was huge, the amount of stuff that they had.
Did you see the Mets helmets? It's like the Mac
I do
Gray,
like those.
And it has
the bridge.
Everything's like popping off of it. Yeah, the bridge or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Speaking of that division, the Phillies got hot. So usually they wait till later in the season, but maybe it's NFL draft, which I know Philly fans are fired up for. The Sixers are in the playoffs, that I know Philly's fired up for. Maybe they just felt they were feeling the Philly love. I don't know if have you been to Philly?
Never. No.
So they all play like within like a couple of couple of 100 yards.
I didn't know that. Sure.
And it's a great the Comcast zone or whatever, which is right there, which like is just basically a bunch of sports bars in like one big room, where and it's in between like the parking lots for all the arenas and stadiums. Sure. It's sick. And like, if there's a game, like a football game going on at the same time as a September baseball game or whatever on a Sunday, stuff like that, it's just a great place to hang out. You could do the doubleheader so easily because you could walk, if today you're going to the Phillies game, well, I guess today wouldn't work because I think the Phillies, assuming they're playing at 1 o'clock. But let's say the Sixers game was the night game tonight, it happens to be a day game. You could
Sure.
do the Phillies game and then go straight, go to the bar, go to the Sixers game afterwards. So maybe they're feeling the vibe of the city because that whole team is hot. And a little foreshadowing, I got a little something for you later. But the Phillies, 8 of their last 10, 3 in a row. I think they had a 5-game winning streak before losing a game in there. So really, I guess 8 of their last 9. They're doing pretty well. Hot team in baseball. By the way, the other team that's really hot is the Guardians. So 2 of the hottest
Yeah.
teams in baseball right now.
Yeah. Well, you better not steal mine because I got one from the Phillies a little bit later. So
We might have the same. I'm sure
maybe.
we have the same one.
I think we
because
do.
there's no way that. All right, we'll get to that. Let's start with
Yeah,
waiver
yeah.
wire pickups
Sure.
because I have 2 for you, and I picked them both up in my league today. One of them is making a start for the aforementioned Cleveland Guardians, and that's Ben Lively. He's been really good so far. You nodded at me like, "Wow, I'm shocked that Rami knew who that was."
Yeah,
I had
that was a
never.
good pick.
Yeah, I just assumed he's related to Blake Lively, and that's why I picked him up. But his last 2 weeks, or his last 2 starts, really, 11 and a third innings, 14 strikeouts, whip under 8, under 0.8, under 1, basically, and hasn't given up too many runs. So Ben Lively, that's my guy.
I think it's a good pick.
Starting today, by the way. So we're recording this Sunday morning. So he might get rocked today. I forget who they're playing.
They're playing Atlanta, so
yeah, they're playing Atlanta. So a little bit risky for me starting him today. But we're gonna roll the dice with it. And if he plays well against Atlanta, you should definitely. He's gonna be on everyone's radar. So definitely pick him up.
yeah. And even if you pick him up and don't start him against Atlanta, or the start against Atlanta doesn't go well, his next start's against the Angels. So even if it doesn't go well, I'll probably just give him a pass and say it's Atlanta. Start him against the Angels.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Who'd you got?
No, I think that's a good pick. So my first one is Willie Castro for the Minnesota Twins. He's 40% rostered and carries quite a bit of positional eligibility depending on your formats, but he's third base, shortstop, and eligible, or outfield eligible in ours. So plenty of versatility there. And last week he was 11 for 29. He had 4 doubles. And the thing that I'm really expecting from him is to eventually pick up the stolen bases. Last year, he had 33 stolen bases, and he's got just 1 this year. So I expect that to pick up a little bit. And he's hitting the ball really well. He's 98th percentile in sweet spot percentage. So Willie Castro is a guy. I just grabbed him in our league this morning as well. If you need some depth, or you're looking for a hot bat, I think Willie Castro fits that mold.
You mentioned the LA Angels, so I got one for you. He's 7% rostered in Yahoo leagues, and maybe this is finally who we've been waiting for. This guy over the last 2 weeks, a 455 on base, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 5 runs, 2 stolen bases, and I'm talking about Jo Adell from the LA Angels. Like, could it finally be that this is the guy who we've been waiting for? It feels like for a couple of years.
Feels like for 10 years at this point. I mean,
exactly.
Especially with how long we've been waiting for this guy to kind of pop off, and it absolutely could be, right? I haven't looked at his underlying stuff. Maybe I'll peek at that before we're done here. But yeah, we've been waiting on Jo Adell. He hits the ball hard. He's got good sprint speed. I think that's a good call out. He's been hot, and even if he kind of cools off a little bit and you're not anticipating him doing much, I'd still say go pick him up, because on name value alone, you might be able to flip him for something, package him with someone else, and, oh, hey, Jo Adell, he's hot. Maybe he's here. And so, depends on what you're feeling with him, but I certainly think he's a good pickup either way. My second guy is with the Texas Rangers, and I saw him play and he looked great, is Josh Smith. He's playing shortstop, third base as well, and 48% rostered in Fantrax leagues. And he's found a lot more playing time when Seager went down, and obviously Seager's back, but Seager's still playing a DH role at times, and so Smith is finding starts at shortstop. And Josh Young is still out for 4 to 6 weeks, so I anticipate Smith getting plenty of playing time still. And in the last week, hasn't lit the world on fire. He's 7 for 22, but out of those 7 hits, 5 of them are doubles. So finding gaps, hitting the ball hard, that's exactly what we want out of our fantasy players. I think his numbers are going to stay consistent. I mean, that's a 300 average right there. So I think that's about where he'll live.
I have one more for you. Alex Verdugo was moved up in the Yankee order, and then he promptly hit a home run. And if you're batting cleanup behind Volpe, Soto, And Judge, despite his struggles, I think you're going to score. You're going to do some damage. And the first game with him in the leadoff spot, the Yankees score 15 runs. Coincidence? I think not. Anthony Rizzo has been kind of hot too the last couple of weeks, or the last couple of games. So yeah, but I like what Verdugo's been doing. Now I interrupt this program to bring you a
Some
fantasy
breaking
baseball
news.
question.
Oh, okay. What do you got?
I have a trade offer on the table in
Okay.
our league.
All right. Oh, I don't know.
Someone offered me for Adley Rutschman. All right, you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
You tell me if this is a good enough package for Adley and Rutschman, or if it's just a bunch of crap and no real high-end players, not worth it. Lars Nootbaar from the outfielder from the St. Louis Cardinals.
Right.
Mitch Garver, the catcher from the Seattle Mariners. And Ronaldo Lopez, the pitcher from the Atlanta Braves. I feel like it's just a bunch of crap. It's like, hey, here's 3.
If you could, again, yeah, I'm not crazy about Garver right now. Nootbaar's still got a lot of room left to prove. I am buying Ronaldo Lopez though. I don't think he's necessarily a fluke. He's been really good to start the year, but certainly not enough for.
Let me get rid of 2 of those guys. Get Lopez
not
in
enough.
here. You think I can like throw Gleyber Torres in there instead of Nootbaar and the other guy?
I don't know if I should be giving the advice, because this is our league. I don't want to.
Oh, come on!
Don't want to.
Like
no.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'll counter with Shohei Ohtani. He has Shohei Ohtani. I like Shohei Ohtani. No,
so you're gonna go Adley and Gleyber for Shohei?
No, I was gonna go Adley and Adley for Lopez and Shohei. Just Adley straight up.
No way.
I don't think he'll take that probably.
No, why would he take that?
No, I'm just playing. What if I throw Gleyber in with Lopez?
It's getting closer, but Gleyber hasn't been.
Gleyber. I know, but he finally got a hit. I know Gleyber sucks so far this year. All right, forget it.
It's been kind of tough. Anyways, yeah.
I'm going to close that tab out, and let's get to pitchers to stream for this week. You can kick us off if you'd like. I have 2 for us, so yeah. Go
ahead. I'll start. I have my first one is a guy that I've been waiting on for a long time, and is Woods Richardson of the Toronto Blue Jays. Oh,
you took my guy? Yeah.
Well, let's talk about him together.
One time I let you freaking go first. And he started against Chicago on Tuesday. And I'm like, of course you should have him, even though Chicago's won 2 in a row. Tommy Pham and the boys are bopping now. But yeah, no, go ahead, please.
Well, and Woods Richardson, his last start was against the White Sox. And
after this episode, we're going to have to start coordinating on some of these names, because I know we have the same MVP of the week too. Jeez.
We may even have the same next pitcher to stream. I don't know if you said you have 2 of them. We may even have the same 2. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, so far, Woods Richardson, 2 starts since he came up, has been 11 innings, 3 earned runs, 11 strikeouts against Detroit and the White Sox.
And his name is Woods Richardson. I mean, come on. It's pretty awesome.
SWR. It doesn't roll off the tongue too well. But we've been waiting for this kid since 2018 for a kind of velo bump. And it's up 3 ticks from last year.
Very liberally there. I've never heard of him.
Yeah, so he was drafted out of high school in 2018. Out of Texas, somewhere in Texas, I forget where, but we don't need him. And again, this is a guy like
I'm just gonna assume. You froze for a second, but yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. This is a guy that I don't want to pick up and try to hold on to and get every last ounce of it. I'm picking him up for the start, and I think that's it. I think I'm done. I don't need him to be a stud. Because he would be lining up to face the Mariners next. I don't care how well you do against the White Sox. I'm probably not going to start him against the Mariners. So I'm going to pick him up, drop him. If someone else gets him, good for you. But I'm gonna cycle that roster spot. So I think it's a good pick. What are your thoughts on Woods Richardson?
No, I had the same thoughts as well. I'm like, hey, he's starting against the White Sox on Tuesday, and it's the type of pick that if you pick him up, exactly, and he's great against the White Sox, or he stinks against the White Sox, you could drop him later this week and feel no way about it, right? So he's definitely available in your league, and he'll be easy, although he's rostered in my league. So I guess someone already picked him up
That was me.
Yeah. No, in my other league also I looked.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
yeah,
People are
which
on it.
again, not Fantrax, not Fantasy Hardo. So but still somebody picked him up. My other guy is not rostered in my league and probably not in ours either. I'm not sure. He had a rough start his last time out against the Dodgers, but he's got 2 starts this week. One of them, the first one's going to be against Miami. That's Jake Irvin for the Washington Nationals. So I like that against Miami. It's probably not a great lineup. I think generally that's where we go when we're looking for guys to start this week. And he's probably also going to have 2 starts this week. So again,
Yes.
rough start against Miami. So maybe you don't start him again, but I think he'll probably pitch well against Miami. His last few starts have been good despite his last start against the Dodgers. Jake Irvin for the Washington Nationals.
And so his last start against the Dodgers was terrible, 4.2 and 6 earned. But the start before was also against the Dodgers, and he went 6 innings and no runs allowed with 6 strikeouts. So
Maybe it's
certainly
just
in there.
seeing him the second time around. Sometimes that happens.
And yeah, his next start being against Miami, and then the following one against Toronto on that Sunday. Yeah, I love finding these 2-step guys. 2 starts in a week because you pick them up
for
from
sure.
weekly leagues. I think that's a good call out. He's got three quality starts, or I guess 2. Sorry, he gave up 4 runs, but Jake Irvin's a good call. I think that's again 41% rostered. I love that. Sorry, do you want to say something else?
Did you have another one?
Yeah, I do. One more.
Go for it.
His name is Bailey Falter for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And the reason why I love Bailey Falter is because he's got the 2 best matchups. Like, think of the 2 teams that you would want to face, and that's Oakland Athletics, and then it's the Colorado Rockies, not in Colorado, in Pittsburgh. So he's got Oakland on Monday and then Colorado on Sunday. And his last start versus Milwaukee, he was absolutely dominant. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, 85 pitches in 7 innings is phenomenal. He was very efficient. And then on the season so far, 3.33 ERA, 0.88 WHIP, and 27 innings. 18 strikeouts only. I'm not expecting big strikeout stuff, but when you have 2 mouthwatering matchups like that, I expect almost 2 quality starts out of him for this week. And I think, he's going to help your ratio. So he's going to chip in for strikeouts. Bailey Falter for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Go get him.
That's a good name. I apologize to everyone who heard me just punch my microphone for absolutely no reason just there.
Got angry.
But yeah, I'm just really fired up about my MVP of the week. And I know you have the same one. I'm going to go first because
no, take it.
This dude is on both my fantasy teams in those 2 leagues. So you can't have him. I'm sorry. He's on in our league. And then in my main league, he's on both of those teams. That's Alec Bohm. He leads the league in hits over the last week with 7 freaking teen. And the next best is Mookie Betts with 13. Like, how ridiculous does it get? I assume you have the same one as your MVP of the week.
I did, but I also have another one that I'll
can you just talk about Alec Bohm for a second? Because I want to hear you sing his praises, because I know you got the stats, you have everything.
No, I actually don't. He wasn't my first one. He was a guy that was kind of like, So
do you have a different Philly?
I have a different Philly.
So forget it. I'll talk about Alec Bohm.
Give
me a second. Please. Let me pull this up, because this dude has, like I said, has been ridiculous. 581 on base, a home run, 9 RBIs, and 5 runs scored. And really, if you look at his last 2 weeks, he's been incredible for the last 2 weeks. 500 on base, 16 RBIs, 3 home runs, and 10 runs scored. He's one of those guys that I picked up to kind of be like a swing guy, corner infield, third base, first base eligible, kind of move him around in and out of the lineup. He's been a staple. Like, I haven't been able to move him out of my lineup at all in any league because he's been that good. And like I said, the Phillies are hot. And when the Phillies are hot, Alec Bohm is going good. And the reason I drafted him, and I talked about this at the time, was because I knew that despite not having like this great season last year, it's 327 on base, which is very good, but it's not close to where he's been this year. He only had 20 home runs. He still drove in 97 runs. I love that production level from him. He's going to drive in 97 runs this year already. He's driven in 26 runs with a 434 on base, and he already has 4 home runs and 14 runs scored. So he's given me more than I expected, and especially in the last week, he's been, like I said, quite literally the hottest hitter in baseball. Mookie Betts has 13 hits. This dude has 17. So Mookie's second in the league in hits, by the way. So Alec Bohm, just been fantastic so far this year, and specifically in the last week, he's my MVP.
Yeah, it's a good one, and one that I mean, I don't actually have Bohm on any teams, but I've been following him. I didn't realize until looking right now how freaking hot he has been. So, like I knew he was hot, he was on my radar, but again, when I don't own any of these, I'm in 8
Oh, it's
leagues, 9
easier.
leagues, and
It's
I don't own him at all. So it's kind of
exactly. It's much easier when you
wild.
own the guy. And my
Mhm.
guy, like, and by the way, you could have fooled me. Like, I looked at your face trying to figure out was that the guy you were thinking of? And you were
No,
like, yeah, of course, Alec Bohm,
no,
of course. I was
no.
like,
I
all right.
again, he was one that I had written down that I'm like, okay, if on the fly I need to find something on him, I can. But I did just extrapolate his RBI numbers, which is dangerous. Don't extrapolate numbers, but if you were to extrapolate his numbers, he is averaging about 150, 160 RBIs for this season. So again, I don't
But
expect
again,
that,
it's
but
not crazy to think that he's going to have 100 though. He had
oh,
97 last
easily.
year.
I'm thinking
You know what I
he
mean?
could get 110, 120. I mean,
Yeah.
at this pace, and that
Yep.
wouldn't shock anyone, especially with how good the Phillies are and have been. And I expect Bryce Harper to only continue to be better. He's had a tough start to the year, so a
Love Bryce.
lot of pieces in that team that still need to kind of kick it into gear. But this guy has kicked it into gear, and this is my MVP of the week, who I thought maybe you were leaning towards, and that is Aaron Nola for the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't know if you've been following him at all, but in his last 3 games, he's
Well,
gone.
I gave you him as my lock or something, right? Recently.
Maybe.
I was
I don't
high on
remember.
him recently. I don't remember. Oh, I gave you him as my who's hot a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what it
sure.
was.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, he's only continued to be hot. His last 3 starts, he's gone 8 innings, and 7 1/3, which we kind of expected those kind of innings from him. And since giving up 6 in his season debut, he's had a 1.29 ERA in 5 starts. 23 in his last 3 games, 23 innings pitched, 26 strikeouts, just 3 walks. It looks like he's kind of back. I know a lot of people were worried about him after his first start. He had a slow spring. Velo, I think, was down a little bit, but it looks like he's back again. Throwing 8 innings back to back in 2 starts is just, you don't see that very often anymore. So that's
Not
why
in
he was my
2024. Yeah.
who's hot for one of the hotter teams in baseball.
Yeah, it's a great pick. My lock, and maybe it's just because I'm in Detroit right now and it's a weird one, but I mean, this
My
guy's
lock's
actually
in Detroit too.
oh god.
We'll
Well,
see.
if you they're playing this is why. They're playing against St. Louis and he has great numbers against these 3 Cardinals pitchers
Okay.
in his career. And I think it's Mikolas and Gibson and I forget who's starting. I'm trying to pull it up real quick, but um yeah, it's
I'll pull it up.
Matz, Steven Matz, and
Mm,
then Mikolas and then Gibson and Mikolas or
mhm.
Michaelis, whatever.
Yeah.
So and he has good numbers in their career. He's only rostered in 5% of leagues, so you could pick him up for the week.
Mm.
And by the way, you can drop him right afterwards if you're feeling like, hey, he stinks. And I feel like he's gonna have a good week. And I just punched my microphone again. I feel like he's gonna have a good week in New York. They're playing the weekend in New York. Everyone knows that's he could hit a bunch of home runs out there. Over the last week, he's up to 319 OBP, which is not great, but he does have 3 stolen bases. He's heating up. It's a really slow start to the season. A guy who's probably most people are down on, but at one point, you probably were obsessed with this guy. That's Javy Baez.
Oh, look at that. I love it. Not mine, but no, I do like the Javy Baez a pick.
What's the difference? If he sucks this week, you'll drop him after the week. But if you're looking for a guy who can throw in the middle infield for a week, I think he's going to have a good week. He has good numbers against the starters, and then he's going to go to New York and he's going to want to show out there. Why not?
I mean, that's definitely one that you're going on feeling, because he hasn't really been hot per se. I mean,
He
again,
hasn't been hot, but he's been heating up. You don't, get him while he's heating up so that when he's hot, you have him.
I guess. I
You're,
mean, yeah, if you look from April
if you get
17th.
someone while they're hot and then they're just cooling down on your team, that doesn't help you.
The thing that he does bring is he's got 6 stolen bases so far. Like, that I think that's
Yeah.
kind of underrated, especially, if
I
you're in
think he's
deeper
gonna.
leagues and you just need some
I'll
cheap
guarantee
speed.
you he hits a home run this weekend against the Yankees. How about
All
that?
right.
He's
All right.
going to hit a home run this weekend against the Yankees.
It's too bad you can't put bets down like that, like over
I
a
can.
series. The guy, you
Oh,
can.
series, yeah. Well,
Oh,
I could
yeah. I'm
just bet
saying
him
like
anytime
per
homer for
game.
3
Yeah.
straight games. His number's going to be good enough that I could probably get if he hits in one of them.
Well, I hope so, because he's only got 1 home run so far this year. And
Yep.
again, I was hoping for. I made this call a little bit earlier in the offseason on another podcast. I said, if Detroit's good, Javy Baez is the kind of guy who thrives under the moment. And so I think if Detroit was playing better, he would be playing better. And so I think that's a great call out that you bring up the New York thing, right? Like him being on the big stage. He's a guy who I think enjoys that
Thrives
stage,
in
right?
that.
And
Yep.
thrives. That's when he plays at his best. And so, I mean, you can look up 1,000 YouTube videos though of him swinging at pitches that are, in the other batter's
Yeah,
box.
and that's probably why he's rostered in
Right.
5% of leagues. Like, not I know his numbers have been bad this year. I don't know if he's as bad as like how the
Mhm.
people are,
Perceiving
viewing
him
him.
to
You
be,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah, 100%. Especially, I mean, again, doesn't matter for defense or for fantasy, but his defense is going to keep him in the lineup. It's a
Right.
great glove. So I love the pick. Former Cub, World Series
Yeah,
champ.
of
Love
course.
it. My lock of the week, another Detroit Tiger. We didn't plan this, don't worry. And again, this is a guy who most people probably expect to start, but I think I've actually saw a few tweets where it's like this guy's falling off, or is he kind of a bust? Is he not what we expected? And a lot of people are talking about sitting him, especially if you only have 3 outfield spots. I'm not sitting this guy almost anywhere unless you have some top outfielders, and that is Riley Green. Um,
Mm,
he's got a 234 batting average right now. Do not let that fool you. 20% walk rate gives him a 379 on base percentage so far this year. Has been phenomenal. He's got 22 runs scored, which is another again thing that maybe gets lost a little bit. It's on pace for over 130 runs this
yes.
season. And then just some of the underlying stuff that has really shown me, like, again, the surface numbers don't really seem to line up. He's 90th percentile or better in xWOBA, xSlug, barrel percentage, and walk rate. He's hitting the ball extremely hard. He's hitting it with authority, and he's not chasing. He's 80th percentile better in average exit velocity, sweet spot percentage, and chase rate. Guys, just his underlying stuff is just screaming he's going to explode. And he really hasn't been that bad. Like, I think people are, again, expecting him to be this stud, and maybe he reaches that soon, but don't write off Riley Green just yet, because I would, if you can trade for him, I think he's a great trade target, because again, perceived value just seems to be down on him, and I am not down on Riley Green.
I mean, all this Tigers talk is making me I'm looking outside now. It still looks disgusting out there and super wet, but like maybe I should go to the Tiger game. Just kidding. I'm definitely not going. But I kind of want to go now. All right. That will do it for us unless you have anything else.
No, good episode.
Yeah, great episode. I think we love the Tigers,
Yeah.
and we also love the Philadelphia Phillies. So we we ride with the hot team. Sorry, that's our job, right? That's fantasy baseball. It's a like emotional roller coaster. How's your week going with your fantasy team? You're doing all right, or
Oh no, one of
I know.
our
It's
league,
just
I'm
like
getting. I've too many
I've
injuries.
been
Too
I've been
many.
getting
Yeah.
roasted as well. It's just gotta pick it up. But
Some
that's
of them are.
fantasy baseball.
Yeah.
And it's
Some of them are
crazy because
good.
Alec Boehm been incredible, and like in my other league, like Alec Boehm. I mean, think about have you seen what Freddie Freeman's numbers look like? Like they're stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, we gotta And by the way, if you don't know, Ronald Acuna has still been like the ranked #1 player in the league. Like he's having an awesome season. That's always like quietly.
Ellie was pushing for that for a little. I think he was #1 for a few days, and
Yeah.
okay.
But fun season, I think, so
Yeah.
far. Baseball's got
Great.
some weird things going on. I saw another like everyone runs on contact from third base now. And like I feel like we're seeing more guys get thrown out at home plate on like ground balls in the
Yeah.
infield than ever before. I saw John Boy was talking about that. It's just like it's weird baseball right now. But we're still having fun. We'll talk again. I'm assuming the episode will be out Thursday. So Wednesday,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're good for. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm available. So you'll hear from one of us at least on Wednesday or Thursday. And until then, I appreciate everyone for listening, tuning in, liking, subscribing, doing all those fun things that help us out and help grow the podcast for other people. And submit your questions. If you're listening to this now, write us a couple questions. Why not? And then we'll answer them on Wednesday's episode. Like I asked earlier about a trade, you can ask us about a trade and what we think about that and other topics such as that. So all that and a whole lot more coming up later this week. Until then, I'll see you guys.